All right, good morning, everyone. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Sean Washington. You spell that S-E-A-N, W-A-S-H-I-N-G-T-O-N, and I'm the acting incoming police chief for the Fremont Police Department. I am going to speak with my mask removed, but we are adequately social distanced. We are still dealing with COVID, and so we want to make sure we're all safe. So I ask that you all keep your mask on and, as best as you can, remain socially distanced. All right, well, good morning once again. I'm Sean Washington, the acting and incoming police chief for the Fremont Police Department. Thank you all for being here today. The purpose of this press conference is to provide you with detailed information on the attempt homicide and officer-involved shooting, which occurred on Wednesday, August 25th, 2021. Please keep in mind the information presented are facts as we know them today. The investigation is still ongoing and may provide additional details in the future. I will start by stating this incident involved the loss of life, a severe life-threatening injury, and a heavy emotional toll on everyone involved or associated with the incident. Gun violence continues to impact our communities throughout the nation. I'd like to start by providing you an overview of today's agenda. I'll explain specific facts of the incident, read you a detailed summary, show you the video from the in-car and body-worn camera and private video from within our community, and we'll listen to a 911 call. After that, we'll have a few moments to take some questions and provide answers. At the end, we will also make the video available to you, and it'll be posted on our transparency portal later today. Now for some details of the officer-involved shooting. I'll start by letting you know that I am going to refer to my notes and read some specifics so that I ensure that you get accurate information. On Wednesday, August 25th, 2021 at 5:19 p.m., Fremont Police Dispatch received a 911 call from a woman stating her friend had been shot in the head at the South Lake Mobile Home Park. The caller believed her friend was deceased from the gunshot wound. You will now hear the 911 call.
911, can you please come over here? I just saw a guy get shot in the head, please. What's the address you're at? We're in the mobile home, South Lake Mobile Homes. It's terrorists. Winnipeg. Hurry up, she's alive. Hurry up, he's still alive. Hurry up, she got shot in the head by. Hurry, please. No, ma'am. Please. You know who it was? No. Is that good? No there. He got shot in the head. Are they alive? Are they breathing? We gotta go. Ma'am. He's dead. Ma'am, are you there? Hey, he's dead. He's dead. Hello?
All right, I've listened to that several times and it doesn't get any easier to hear that. Patrol officers responded to the scene, arriving at 5:26 p.m. and located the victim with a gunshot wound to his head. Officers provided first aid to the victim and determined he was still alive. Shortly after, medical personnel arrived on scene and transported the victim to a local trauma center with life-threatening injuries. Officers and detectives began an initial canvass of the neighborhood for witnesses and private video. Detectives quickly learned the suspect had stolen the victim's car and fled towards the exit of the mobile home park. A witness told officers they did not see the car leave the mobile home park. Detectives located the stolen vehicle abandoned on an adjacent street roughly 1/10 of a mile away, along with a loaded magazine next to the car. As additional detectives arrived on scene, video surveillance was recovered, showing the suspect had been in the backyard of a residence in the area. The timestamp on the video showed the suspect was in the yard about a half hour before the video was discovered. The video provided a description of the suspect as a white or Hispanic male wearing a white t-shirt and walking with a significant limp. The suspect's description was immediately broadcast over the police radio.
Real quick, but I got a updated description, right? Video footage showing the suspect exiting out under the fence onto automobile, that's confirmed, right? Looks like a white male, probably in his mid-20s to 30s, wearing a white t-shirt, got a green backpack on, black and red either sandals or sneakers, and he's definitely limping as if he's injured, right?
Priority traffic, I have them and all them off south. Copy, I'm on south, like, when? Are they in second 49 Jam? I'm on south, like,
Search.
copy.
See what I want.
Copy. Shots fired, suspect down.
Shortly after the updated information was broadcast, at about 6:04 p.m., Officer Jesse Hartman located a man who matched the suspect's description, walking southbound across Automall Parkway between the two lanes of traffic near South Lake Common. Officer Hartman noticed the man was walking with a limp and carrying a small stroller. The suspect was now shirtless, but a white t-shirt appeared to be resting within the stroller. As the suspect approached the eastbound lanes of traffic at Automall Parkway, Officer Hartman activated his emergency lights and siren and exited his vehicle. Officer Hartman identified himself as a police officer. The suspect dropped the stroller, grabbed the white t-shirt from the seat, and raised it towards Officer Hartman in what appeared to be a shooting stance. The suspect motioned as if he was firing a handgun at Officer Hartman. The suspect suddenly dove towards the stroller and again reached into the seat. The suspect emerged with an object in his hand and pointed it at Officer Hartman. Officer Hartman noticed the object the subject retrieved was a handgun, and the suspect was now pointing it at Officer Hartman while motioning as if he was pulling the trigger. Officer Hartman engaged the suspect and fired multiple rounds from his department-issued handgun, striking the suspect numerous times. Additional officers arrived on scene and began giving the suspect commands. They saw the suspect was still moving on the ground and had his hand still on the gun. An armored vehicle arrived shortly thereafter, A plan had to be established to safely remove the firearm from the suspect, to detain him and provide medical care. Once the firearm was separated from the suspect, officers provided first aid at about 6:19 p.m. Paramedics were staged nearby and responded to the scene. They pronounced the suspect deceased at 6:23 p.m. The incident was captured on Officer Hartman's in-car camera. Audio was not recorded due to an equipment malfunction that has since been repaired and fixed. You will see the video in real time, then in slow motion, and zoomed in. As a reminder, this video will have graphic content and is disturbing to watch. You see the suspect, you can see the emergency lights there. Again, you can see the suspect's actions. Again, zoomed in, slow motion. You see the gun fall from the shirt into the stroller there. It's highlighted. See another object fall. Suspect dives, retrieves the gun, points it at Officer Hartman. And you can see he's appearing to pull the trigger several times. Responding officers' body-worn cameras captured physical contact with the suspect. I will show you segments from the two responding detectives, which show the recovery of the gun in relation to the suspect and his hand still being near or on the firearm. Again, you can see the firearm there. And from another angle, you can see the firearm there as well. Once the suspect is secured, consistent with the officer's training, they immediately go into life-saving mode.
Let's start getting the medical bag out here, and let's start getting you
I want to thank the Alameda County Sheriff's Office who provided air support right after this incident. The photo shows the scene shortly after. Fremont Fire and Falk EMS personnel arrived to provide medical assistance. Now for some additional information and facts. Our involved officer, Jesse Hartman, 9 years of service with the Fremont Police Department. The victim of the attempted homicide, a 25-year-old male who remains hospitalized in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. His identity is being withheld at this time for his privacy. The suspect's weapon that was recovered at the scene. The gun the suspect used in the incident had Glock markings. As many of you know, Glock is a particular brand or type of firearm. The firearm was painted white and had one spent casing in the chamber and was missing the magazine. Detectives believe the weapon is a ghost gun with a serial number on it. However, no record of ownership is on file. Additional efforts to identify the origin of the gun will be conducted. Detectives recovered a loaded magazine near the victim's stolen vehicle. Investigations determined that this was indeed the magazine missing from the recovered firearm. The suspect stole the victim's car during the incident, pictured there. The vehicle was recovered a short distance from the scene of the initial shooting. The suspect in this case, Kevin Victor Johnston, 22-year-old male out of Hayward. The suspect at the time of the incident had an active $545,000 felony warrant for carjacking, felon in possession of a firearm, prohibited person in possession of a firearm, carrying a loaded firearm in public, carrying a concealed firearm, possession of controlled substance while armed, felony evading, and he also had a post-release community supervision violation. Had Johnston survived, the Fremont Police Department would have sought charges for 1 count of attempted murder on Officer Hartman and 1 count of attempted murder on the original victim. A few more facts. This is our 4th officer-involved shooting we've had in 2021, 3 of which have been fatal. This is another unfortunate reality of gun violence within our community. Our officers answered the call and responded to guard our community against an extremely dangerous individual causing harm. I'm sure Mr. Johnston had family who cared for him, and for that I offer my condolences. I also would like to recognize the fact that we have a community member who is still fighting to survive this horrific injury, which was caused by Mr. Johnston. So our thoughts are also with the victim of this terrible crime. But I also like to recognize that this crime has also impacted our community. And I want to reassure the community that we will continue to do all we can to keep you safe. Lastly, I'd like to state how grateful I am that our officer was not injured or killed during this incident. Having over 2 decades of law enforcement experience as a police officer, I know officer-involved shootings significantly impact the involved officer, the responding officers, and our entire department. Once again, I'd like to thank our responding agencies for their assistance. The Fremont Fire Department, Falk, EMS, Alameda County Sheriff's Office, and the Hayward Police Department, as well as the men and women who serve here at the Fremont Police Department. In conclusion, all of our press releases, the transcript and video copy of this press conference, and the video we are sharing today will be available on our transparency portal. And with that, I thank you for being here today, and I think we have a little time to answer some questions that you might have.
What is your conclusion on whether this was a justified shooting?
Well, it's still under investigation, but as you can see in the video, I am confident that the officers acted in accordance with the law and our policy. So, yeah, I think this is pretty clear cut that this was a justifiable shooting.
Do you know what the motive was in that original shooting? Did they know each other, or what happened?
Yeah, I don't have the details on that. Maybe I can have my acting captain that oversees our investigations come up and talk about that a little bit on where we are with the investigation, but I don't have that information right now. Yes. How you doing, Joe?
Thanks for being here today. Quick question about the gun that was used by the suspect. You mentioned it had an expended bullet in the chamber. Could you speak to that a little bit? Has there been any analysis by your staff as to what may have happened there? You said the suspect was motioning as if he was pulling a trigger. That's kind of a, I understand what you mean after seeing the video, but it's a tough thing to describe. Do you believe he tried to fire the weapon and it may have jammed, or was that in the chamber earlier? Has there been any analysis on that?
Yeah, we're still working on that, and like I said, in a moment I'll invite Acting Captain Tang to come up and talk a little bit more about that. But we're only a few weeks out, so it is going to take some time for us to try to figure out and put those pieces together to determine, if there was a malfunction with the gun, or, we believe that he actually shot a round at the officer, and so that would account for the spent casing in the chamber of the gun.
And was there a shell recovered anywhere?
I'm not sure, but I'll defer to Acting Captain Tang.
Are you releasing this video because of the assembly law, the California law, or are you releasing this for other reasons?
Well, both. Yeah, we have some requirements to release this video. Part of the law, it's always difficult because we know we have families out there that lost someone in this, so the law requires us to release this video, and we have to be sensitive to those individuals as well. But internally, we are committed to being transparent. So proactively, we want to put this video out and show the community what actually happened in this case. So it's a combination of both to comply with the law, as well as proactively inform the community of our actions.
Chief, can we talk about Officer Hartman? Was he wearing a body camera? And if so, did it not capture the shooting, or was it activated?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the specifics, but all of our detectives are issued a body cam. In this particular case, I think he was responding well after this incident had already taken place. He was responding to assist. So please don't quote me on this, but I believe that the body cam was in a different position. He saw the suspect. It was sudden, so he jumped out, activated his lights, which he knows will activate some sort of recording device, and captured the incident on the recording.
When you say in a different, I'm sorry, this is a press conference. When you say don't quote me, you say different position. I'm just a little concerned.
Well, when I say don't quote me, let me clarify. When I say don't quote me, it's mean I don't have all the facts. So we can get someone up here that has that. So that's what I mean by that. So thank you for correcting me. What I mean is that I don't have all the facts and specifics. And so with that, I don't want to go down a path in which I'm unfamiliar. So I'll defer to some of the other experts up here to answer that question.
Okay, thank
All right?
Well, does that mean he didn't have the body cam on his person, and it was maybe in the passenger seat of his car?
Yeah.
Was it a different position?
Yeah, so how about I do this? How about I invite Acting Captain Tang up, and he can speak to some of those questions, since I don't have those answers for you all. Does that work?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. So yes, I'm Acting Captain Eric Tang. That's ERIC TANG. So on your question on the body camera, we'll start with that one. Officer Hartman had it in his docking station. So inside the car, you can charge your body camera, and it was next to him. So keep in mind that this incident, the officer-involved shooting happened approximately 40 minutes after the initial call, the 911 call that you heard. So in most of these incidents where we've investigated, it's rare that we find somebody on scene 40 minutes afterwards. So like the chief was saying, he responded in a investigative role to help, and then happened to see the suspect right when the sergeant was putting out the description. So he didn't have a chance to put his body camera on, but like the chief said, when he flips his lights on, it immediately activates the car camera. And so that's the footage that we have.
Acting Captain Tang, is it not department policy to be wearing your body camera during your shift?
Well, it is policy, but at the same time, we understand there are circumstances where if your body camera isn't fully charged, you have to be able to charge it in the docking station. So Officer Hartman and other officers were in a different city during this incident, following up on another suspicious death case, and so they responded back, and so they were charging their cameras at the time, and we allow for that.
I would also add that that's why we have the charging stations in the vehicles, because if you have a battery that doesn't work, then it defeats the purpose of even having the body cams. So the officer's trying to do the right thing by ensuring that his body cam is charged and activated, thinking that he's not going operational. He's driving to the scene of a follow-up investigation. So hopefully that answers your question.
And as far as, I don't know if you have an answer on this, but as far as the malfunction that the chief mentioned, when we explain that, usually you flip on the lights, that means the dash cam and the audio transponder start recording. What happened there?
So just the microphone was bad on the camera. That's all it was. Our IT folks took a look at it and said, yeah, the microphone's bad. So that's been replaced. That's since been fixed.
Do you know any details from the initial shooting, the breakdown that's fighting on his life?
Yes. So that was your question earlier, ma'am.
Someone else's.
Yeah. So we know that this entire group the original victim, the 911 caller, and the suspect are all associated to one another. Now, as far as the exact relationship, we don't know if they were, very good friends or what, but we know that they were all associated to one another, and they all arrived at this location together. From there, it gets a little bit more hazy. Everybody's not really forthcoming with the information. And then, Joseph, I think you had a question on the expended casing inside the. Okay, so your question was an expended bullet, which, bullet is an intact, the entire bullet. The bullet is the projectile that fires out. The casing is the rear part of it that actually ejects out of the weapon. So your question, when a weapon fires, the bullet comes out, and then the casing, if the weapon functions properly, that's what you see ejecting out of the firearm and normally landing on the ground. So in this case, we believe there was a malfunction. That casing was inside the firearm. Typically, it would eject outside. We found a casing at the original scene where the first victim was shot. And so between the time of that first shooting, the time it took for officers to arrive on scene, which is approximately 5 minutes, no additional reports of an additional round fired. And while officers were on scene for the 30-some minutes after that, there were no reports of additional gunfire. So we believe that there was a round fired at Officer Hartman during that contact that you saw on the video. We'll never know for sure. Sometimes when there's a shootout, you don't hear the other round coming at you, and so we'll never know for sure. But that casing was inside of his firearm.
And I'm sorry if I used the wrong terminology, but
Yeah.
the bullet, the projectile was not found in the potential shot fired at Officer Hartman. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So empty casing, still in the gun, bullet ejected. Bullet not there.
Correct. Yeah.
Do we know why the suspect was limping?
We are aware of a carjacking and a pursuit from earlier, and I don't know exactly if it was a few weeks earlier or what, but with an outside agency where he crashed and severely injured his leg.
Have you heard from his family at all?
We have.
Who does he leave behind? Is his
I don't want to disclose that information at this point just for their privacy. If they've reached out to you, then you guys can obviously publish that, but I don't feel comfortable providing that information without their consent.
Did the three people, the 911 caller, the man in the hospital, and the suspect, they live together?
I don't believe so, no.
So do you think the suspect came over there to steal the man's car, and that's why there was a shooting?
Very hard for us to speculate on that. But we know that they're all associated. We all know that they have hung out in the past. We don't know exactly what led to the altercation, which led to the shooting. And we don't even know, because everyone's not forthcoming, on the exact details of how the car was stolen and how it ended up in Mr. Johnson's possession.
Do you know if he threatened the 911 caller at any point? Or?
I don't know that. No.
Okay, do we have one or two more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up for this morning?
Do the officers check their equipment before they go out? Because the audio was lost, correct? The audio was not working. So do they check their equipment?
So the car camera it's not like a camera that you and I, like your phone, where if you were to hit a recording, you could play it right back. You would have to take a video, have it uploaded here at our police department, go to a computer screen, play it to see it. We just assume that our equipment works. And so in this case, you can't test the audio by just sitting in your car and going, making sure this works. So it's not as simple as that.
So how often is the equipment tested within the department?
Well, you're constantly downloading body cam videos. So if you download, let's say that you work a 3 or 4 day shift and your body cameras all upload, and then you play back, you realize that it's working or not. So it could have been a couple days, could have been a full 4-day work cycle. We haven't looked into that yet.
Is
Who was the
Officer
last-
back at work, or is he still on leave?
He's back to work.
Is it possible to carry a second battery? So instead of charging it, you just put another battery in?
Yes, we've talked with the manufacturer about that before, but they don't have a second battery option. Yeah. They have a cable that you can actually connect to yourself while you're driving. We have those. We've done everything that we can to keep the battery life of these going, but it's technology, right? I mean, it fails.
Point of clarification, Officer Hartman, the detective who was responding and just happened to see the suspect, as we saw in the video, is that correct? And then there was a second detective that we saw in the white SUV coming in that direction as well, is that correct? He was also responding?
Officer Hartman's not a detective. He's an officer, but yes, yeah, he was responding to assist them,
Okay.
yes.
I heard detective, and that's why I was thinking.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. As we mentioned earlier today, the video that we showed you